I hope that you will leave our webinar today being excited about ways that you can use children's books to teach financial literacy. For some of our students, that is just such a fun thing. I used to read to my students, my seniors, and they just loved that. So we can find some ways to help keep them entertained, let them relax a little while they're learning at a lower level. So I'm Robin Palmer. I'm one of the 3 Take Charge Today staff members, and joined with Tiffany and Lisa, who are here with me today. We also last year hired 3 teacher trainers who you might see at conferences or events in your local area. Lynette is located in Maryland. Andrea is located here in Arizona, and Trakel is in Utah. And we are getting geared up for a busy summer with conferences and places that we will be throughout the United States to bring some of our materials and activities to you. So if you're planning on going to a conference this summer, we hope we will see you there. So tonight we want to look at a few things. So I want to start with, like, what's the power of stories in learning? Why is that something that is beneficial for our students? And then our plan tonight is twofold. Number one, to introduce you to some of our elementary, middle school, and high school books that we have in our children's literature integration that you'll be able to see on our website. And then we're going to talk about how can you use these books as part of a service learning project or something that you might want to do during Financial Literacy Month in April. Both of those things are coming up. So we know as personal finance teachers or math teachers or CTE teachers that it's really important that we have time. We take time to help our students start understanding money. We can't wait till they're seniors and try to throw all of these concepts at them. We really need to start while they're younger and start helping them develop just their basic skills of making decisions between needs and wants, and being able to delay gratification, being able to save for something down the road. So these books are an easy lift for teachers. They are materials that are available. And even if you just read a book once a week or once a month, you would be helping your students develop some of these skills and get their minds thinking about questions they might have regarding their own financial choices that they will have when they are on their own. Books are wonderful. I was always a reader. I grew up in the generation of there was one television in our house, and we had to agree on what we watched. And so I'm from a family of 11 kids. You can imagine it was kind of difficult to all agree on one TV show that we wanted to watch. And there were actually times when my dad cut the cord off of the television because he didn't want us watching TV anymore. So I am a book lover. I love reading stories, and I love the stories these days that really tie into these important skills we want our students to learn. So stories can help us teach values to our students, introduce them to new ideas and concepts that they haven't heard about before, help them learn about how other people make decisions so they can start developing some of that critical thinking skills themselves in their own lives. And they really are just a powerful way to teach students about things that are very different. It's really hard for me to find any students these days that are from a family of 11 kids. So I can tell them stories about my experiences, but if there's a book that we can read that will introduce them to other types of families and other struggles that families may be having or successes with their money, that's a way to just open our students' minds and help them understand what's going on around them. Our children's books that we're going to talk about tonight are in our active learning tools area of our website. When you go there, you will click on the reading and writing section in our active learning tools. And within that, you see just the kind of the top snip of our download lesson materials. So in our children's book integration active learning tool is a big list that I will show you in a minute, but you will see in the lesson materials that we have some books that we have created activities to go with. We want students to be able to listen to the story or read the story and then be able to do something for themselves. So if I were to click on that children's book integration link. What it will take you to is a Word document like this that is several pages long. So it includes the book title, the author, and the grade level so that you can look at that. So you can see I started at the beginning with kindergarten, but we're going clear up into middle school and added some high school books as well. In the section I have marked with green, we have some columns that say, have we Take Charge Today created a coordinating lesson activity? And it'll say yes if we have one. And then there's a couple of external resources that we use that are linked in the description that's above this table. And then we also give you the tie-in to our unit or topic or topics that we have developed that are part of our website. So this document is a great resource for you to be able to look at and be able to share with other teachers. I actually have mine printed out so I can look at it and say, I really want to find a fun book that we can read today. So we know that these kindergarten to second grade books, it probably could take you maybe 3 or 4 minutes to read that. Not a lot of whole time that you could take out of your classroom, but you could have a discussion that goes along with that. So we want to introduce you to some of these books and the activities that we created that go with them. And then hopefully you'll be able to think about your own classroom and see if you can figure out how you could fit some of this in. So the first book I wanted to share with you is called Lemonade in Winter. And this is a kindergarten through second grade book. But again, we're hoping that you could say, how could I use this with my middle school or my high school students? Because reading is fun. So in this story, Pauline and her brother, John, decide that they want to sell some lemonade. It is winter outside. You can see from the cover that they're in their snow gear, but they really want to do that. So they decide that they need to find some money, and mom and dad aren't going to give them any. So they start looking in the couch cushions and in different places to find money, and they are able to find $6. They end up going to the store and buying supplies that they need to make their lemonade. And then they go outside and start selling it. And in the story, some neighbors come by and start saying, are you sure you want to be selling lemonade? It's cold outside. We're not sure people will do that. So we get some consumer behavior materials in there. We get some marketing that goes along with it. But just really a fun book that your students can understand. The activity that we connected with this, because we're talking about them having to have money to buy supplies and having to purchase those things and then making money from their sales, our connected activity is an income and expense statement. So we made it kind of simple for a teacher of younger children to use if they wanted to. But as you're reading the story, or if the students were reading themselves, they can just start recording how much money did they spend on their lemons, on their sugar, on their cups, on their ice, other things like that. And then how much lemonade did they sell? So how many cups of lemonade and how much did customers pay? You can imagine if you've ever shopped at a neighborhood Kool-Aid stand, that sometimes if they say it's marked for 50 cents, somebody will give you $1 and tell you to keep the change. So it gives a chance for the students to actually just think about the money, think about the money going in and out, and being able to decide what is happening and how much money these two are making. I would like you to think for a minute about the students that that are in your classroom, and see if you have any suggestions on how you could extend or adapt this activity to match the grade level of your own students. So if you have some ideas, type them in the chat for us. Love that idea, Lisa. I know there's an online lemonade stand game that a lot of teachers have had their students play. So that would be a great connection with economics and supply and demand. Oh, I like that, Muriel. Yeah, let's do some comparison shopping at different stores that are around. I know in my area, we've got a Safeway, we've got a Walmart, we've got a Trader Joe's. So you could suggest different stores that you know have higher or lower price points and have your students do some shopping there. Love that. Okay, let's move on to book number 2. Oh, Denise, I love that. Yeah, being used with your special needs students, because this is kind of what they would do, and maybe then they could have that lemonade stand right there at school. So Tia Isa wants a car. I love this book because a lot of my students are Hispanic, and I love seeing the vocabulary terms and terms of endearment that they just use to call each other that are part of this book. So this is a third grade level book. In the story, Tia Isa wants to buy a car. So they live in a town, and she usually walks to and from her work, and she walks around town, but she really wants to be able to go to the beach. She has a job, but she is already saving money from her job to help her relatives. So in the story, it talks about her sending money to other people. And so she can't save as much as she would like because she's sharing with others. So her niece, you can see in the picture, she's relatively young. She says, well, I'm going to help save money too. So it's fun to see what the niece does by talking to the librarian at school, by talking to her neighbor. She finds ways to help other people and earn money. And then one night she says to her aunt, let's count how much money you have. And she pulls out, not the aunt, but the girl pulls out this sock full of money that she has saved from the jobs that she did. So fun way to bring in concepts about, saving money and planning for the future. And how do I make decisions about what I'm going to do with that money? I know I have students that were sending money back to relatives as well, or helping support them. Students that sometimes were even supporting all the food costs for their own family. So I love these stories that will bring in some real world experiences that the students might be familiar with. For this particular activity that goes with the book, we wanted students to think about how they can help their families save money. So in the activity, they are given pictures of things that they can do to save money. And we ask the students to identify, would you be willing to do any of these activities, some of them, and how much money would you be able to help your family save? So they have the option of opening up the curtains instead of turning the light on in the room that they're in, using a water bottle that can be refilled all the time instead of just the throwaway ones, packing their own lunch instead of eating a school lunch, taking shorter showers, using alternative modes of transportation, drinking water instead of juice or soda, so that on this worksheet they can choose these things, and we've given them an idea of what the savings cost might be for a month. So we want the students to start thinking about how they can contribute to the family's well-being by being able to help just reduce some of the costs that families would have. So again, think for a minute, what could you have your students do that would be connected to this type of an activity? I agree. So good ideas in the chat. Like, how much do things really cost? I'm not sure students necessarily know how much mom and dad are spending on different things. But so many different ways. I love just the idea of being aware of, oh my goodness, how many times do we leave the lights on? Or how many times does mom say you need to get out of the shower? It's time to get out. Not only we're running out of hot water, but you're using up a lot of electricity. So lots of different ways, right? You could just have your class totally brainstorm. What are ways that I could help my family save money this month, and be able to talk to the family about that, have that conversation, and have them think about that. Muriel, you and I were on the same wavelength there. Perfect. Okay, at the middle school level, one of my favorite books that I discovered was Double Fudge. This book is just filled with so many financial topics that they are discovering. So this is a 4th and 5th grade level chapter book. Has many, many chapters. And anytime there was a chapter that had some kind of a financial topic, then I wanted to develop an activity that goes with it. So you can see in my bulleted list down there at the bottom, there's talking about inflation and values and how is money designed? Like, can we make our own money, or do we have to use the kind that the government provides for us? What does it mean to be poor? What does it mean to be wealthy? What is income? Should we play the lottery to win? Just so many topics that you could spend talking to your students about. So 12 different activities that we created that go along with that book. And the activity that I chose to talk to you about tonight is one where they're talking about making an emergency fund. It's so important that our students start understanding the importance of having that money set aside for when things might go wrong. So we give them this kind of a budget or a spending statement from the family in the book. And we let students look at this to determine what are the things we paid money for that we definitely need to consider as part of our emergency fund. So if you're teaching personal finance, hopefully you're teaching the students, they want to have 3 to 6 months worth of expenses set aside for that emergency fund. So would our car payment be part of that? Would our dining out be part of that? Would our clothing be part of that? And sometimes it's hard for students to choose because they think there are things that are definitely needs that really are wants. So just a fun way to help them identify what are those things that are important to a family, and then doing the math to say how much money would this family need to save in order to come up with their emergency fund goal. Okay, more ideas from you. How might you expand this activity or do an extension activity with them? That's awesome. Muriel, would you tell us what kind of things you put on your bingo sheet? You can unmute if you want to.
Yep, sure. So we have actually, it's like we put different amounts. So you don't necessarily have to like pick go on like 40, 30, 15, 15, 16. You can mark off at any time that you want. Let's say you have 15 this week, but you won't have it for next week. So you'll have maybe a 15 again next week. And then the following, you'll have 30. So you can mark those off and they can be anywhere on the chart. But at the end of the 3 months, they've completed that $300 for the 3 months. And then they just keep going, and doing it as a family together makes it fun. Yeah.
Denise, I love your idea as well. Like, have those high school kids start tracking what are they spending money on. And most of them that have a bank account, they can pull up their online bank account on their phones and be able to look at what did I spend money on. I had a student that 1 year said to me, Miss Palmer, you need to help me because I don't know where my money is going. So I had her bring me her last 3 months of bank statements and any receipts that she had in her backpack, in her car, in her purse. And I put them into a spreadsheet, and then I turned them into what's spent on her housing, what's spent on her travel or her transportation and her beauty care and things like that. And she discovered she spends a whole lot of money on her beauty care and a whole lot of money on food. So that's a great way. And Lisa put in the chat, we have a case study of a family that the students can look at as well. So if they don't want to share their own personal information or their own family information, it's a way for them to look at a family situation and the things that they are spending money on. Okay, another chapter book that I fell in love with when I read it is called The Short Seller. It is a book that is totally about investing in stocks. And I don't even know who suggested it for me, but I bought it because I loved it so much. So Lindy is this girl. She's in 7th grade. She ends up getting mono and misses a whole month of school. And so her parents hire a math tutor for her because she's not very good in math, and they're very worried about her falling behind. And her math tutor used to be a stock trader. So he starts talking to her about stocks, and that just catches her attention. And then her dad has her do some trades for him on his stock account because he can't do the trades at work on his work computer. So totally related to stocks and the stock market. I know if I were teaching my high school kids about investing, they would love this. I know in Arizona, 8th grade math includes investing. And so this fits in really well with that 8th grade group of teachers. So one of the activities that I picked to just share with you is we want students to start figuring out how to do the math that goes along with some of these personal finance topics. So in this activity, I've given them fictitious stock names and their current price and their purchase price, and they get to figure out what percent increase or decrease has that stock made, and how much profit would they make if they sold that for themselves right now, right at that particular price. So helps them start figuring out how to look at percentage increases and decreases, which we know are good math standards for our students to understand how to do. Any ideas about how you might expand this activity for older students? Those are great ideas. Yeah, Paula, I love that activity too, right? So pick 5 stocks and go back and see how much they were worth on your birthday, or have them think if that stock grew this much in the last 5 years, how much might it be 5 years from now? Kids are just so excited to learn about stocks and stock trading and what they can do. Another activity that goes along with this book teaches them about ticker symbols and how ticker symbols were created. And at the end of the activity, it says, if you were to create your own company, what would your ticker symbol name be? So letting our kids who are creative come up with that. So I was thinking today, if I created a company named Red Robin, because that's what everybody's called me my whole life, what would my ticker symbol be for that? So fun things for them to do in the stock thing, but we can bring in the literature, help their English language skills, and give them some other things to do. Within our curriculum for Take Charge Today, we actually have an activity, well, a group of activities that we have under a lesson that's called the Case for Savings. So it includes some books, 3 short books, and a whole bunch of questions that you can ask the students while you're reading the books to them or after you've read them. Gives you a chance, like if you just had to focus on one day on saving money and why that's important, here's 3 books that you could bring into your lesson and just give the students a chance to think about saving and think about how other people look at savings in their lives. So the Case for Saving is in there. If you go to our website and just type that in, you'll be able to find that as well. These are just some other books to consider. Some of these are new. If you look down at the bottom row of books that I have here, these are brand new books within the last couple of years. We have some authors from different populations that are starting to write books for kids specifically about money. So helping children of color or from other backgrounds learn about money themselves with pictures of kids that look like them or situations that fit in with them. Princess Persephone's Dragon Ride Stand actually brings in a lot of marketing as well. And so if you want to teach kids about the influence of marketing and the way that we use our money or save our money or spend our money, that's kind of a fun one to look. A lot of the books you'll be able to find a read aloud on YouTube. So if you don't have the money to buy the book or to have a class library, you'll be able to find those books online and just have a guest author read them to your students. The Consumer Finance Protection Bureau has a group of books that go along with the Money Monsters. So these are books that you can actually order online for free and they'll send them to you. They are for younger level kids, but you can get them and be able to read them, let the kids have them, take them home, give them an opportunity to read to a smaller child and come back and discuss. Just so many ways that you could use these different books within your own classroom. At the high school level, we are starting to add some of those books in there for you to be able to have in a classroom library if you choose to do that. Or if you're trying to give extra credit, you want students to actually do some things on their own. Broke is one of the books that's out there. And this is a book that was written really for people who are graduating from college. So, gosh, I've been at home. Mom and dad have been taking care of me. I'm either still at home and now graduating from college, or I've been to college and I'm graduating, and now I have to be an adult on my own. So this is my daughter. My youngest daughter is graduating in June, and she's kind of started having some little anxieties about, oh my gosh, Mom, I have to be the real adult and take care of myself now. So this book will help them think about making a budget and what do I need to know about my credit score? How do I deal with student loans that maybe I have carrying over? And do I really need to comparison shop? Or if I do, what's going on? So kind of a fun book that really is down to life. or down to earth with these older kids about helping them understand how to not be broke, but how to take the income that now they'll start earning now that they're done with college and be able to share that. Yaneli Espinal, if you've heard of her from Next Gen Personal Finance, she released this book last year about her journey with money, I think is the best way to describe it. She uses stories. She is a minority student, right? And she really wanted a book that would give young people these strategies to help them understand how to reach their money goals. Students sometimes look at their teachers and say, well, you have a lot more money than I do, but they don't know that maybe I started out in a worse situation than you did. And it's just kind of a fun book that you could find to share with your students as well. These are some other ones that you might consider. You might have heard of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. That book's been around for a long time, but he created one that's for teens now. And I Want More Pizza. That's the book I gave my daughter because she's all about pizza. So just some that you could consider taking a look at, finding out a little bit more about that would be really appropriate for your high school students. Muriel, do the people that you work with ever ask for books? Are they interested in reading for themselves, or do they just want you to be their teacher?
Well, actually, we have focused mainly on adults until recently, so we're just starting to get into the schools and to with the kids and in the library. So we've had little books like a sheet that we do for children that we pass out at like tabling events, but we're just starting to teach it. So we're super excited, and I'm super excited to see what others add because I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
That's great.
So thank you. This is great.
The book that pops into your head that you read a few years ago that you think would be great or that students have mentioned, please let us know because we would love to add that to our big long list so that we can share it with others. All right. So I'm going to turn the time over to Lisa. She's going to do the second half of our webinar to talk about how we can take some of these books and turn them into service learning opportunities and how we can focus on April Financial Literacy Month and maybe do some things there.
Thanks, Robin. So you may or may not know that we actually have a section on our website from Take Charge Today about pulling together some service learning activities tied to personal finance. And here is an example of a couple of these that we have. First off, Gaining with Goals, where you would have your participants, whether they be the high school class that you're working with, or maybe the high school class could work with some of the younger students and have them create posters or short videos to learn the importance of SMART goals. And of course, we have some lessons on SMART goals in our curriculum. We have lessons on goals for introductory level, middle school level, or we have goals for SMART goal lessons at our high school level as well. Another one that would be a fun service learning activity to do is called Savers Challenge. This is where your students at a higher level, whether they be middle school working with elementary or high school working with elementary, and challenge the elementary students to bring loose change from their own pockets that they find as they're playing on the playground, or they find in their car or in between the seats, and have the classes save that money together and donate it to a charitable organization. And of course, your high school students could come and take pictures of this effort, help the students celebrate how much money they've made, have the high school students write a letter to the editor or do a press release about the Savers Challenge that they worked with at one of their feeder schools that leads up to the high school level. here's a great idea for peer-to-peer working, and it's Get a Job Peer Clinic. We have some lessons in our Take Charge Today repository that talk about how to get a job, things important to put in resumes, what's important to fill out about a job application or drafting a cover letter. And some of the students that you work with at the high school level could either during the school day when there's time, maybe lunchtime, or take a week and after school have a walk-in clinic where students who need help putting together a resume, and maybe just even the simple idea of being able to print the resume for the students to take to job interviews. And so the students from your class could work with the students that come in to get help in that clinic, doing practice interviews, have a computer set up, laptops, different devices set up so that the students coming in could have the time and the equipment necessary to write that job application. And certainly doing it maybe in April during Financial Literacy Month, right before students leave school and would be looking for summer jobs. That could be a win-win for a lot of different school systems. And then one of our popular service learning lessons is Let's Invest with Lawn Boy. Lawn Boy is a short novel. It is a chapter book. It's ideally for that very upper level elementary and the first 2 years of a middle school. A wonderful, funny, easy read. And you could actually have your students at high school read the book and partner with a teacher from the middle school or the upper level elementary school and have their students read the book as well. And your students at the high school could create some lessons for those elementary students, lessons on economics, simple supply and demand, introductions to them, have the students interact either through Zoom or maybe take your high school students down and interact with the elementary level or middle school level students. We have several sets actually, that you can actually go ahead and borrow from our Take Charge Today library, and we'll ship them out from our office to your school. You can order them in sets of 30 and have them for 2 to 3 weeks. And then we will give you the prepaid label to ship those back to us. And that way you won't have to buy a whole set of those books for you. We have bought them and have them in our offices that we can send to you. So there's 4 different service learning lessons that if you have the time during your teaching schedule for students to embrace the idea of being able to be an advocate for personal financial literacy, and do some direct or some indirect service learning activities. So we're coming up on April. I can't believe it's almost here, but it's exciting. And for many years, April has been celebrated as Financial Literacy Month across the country. And we always try to share ideas and promote what teachers are doing in their schools during Financial Literacy Month. So as you get some of these ideas that we are sharing tonight, or you've had some of your own, and you take some pictures, please share them with us on our social media boards and platforms. We would love to see what everyone is doing. We have several examples from over the years, and each year teachers get more and more creative with what they're doing. So here's what we've seen teachers doing over the course of the years, or Robin and I are teachers who have been in the classroom for many years, and we implemented some of these ourselves. So since April is Financial Literacy Month, you could start a tradition about, oh, it's April, I'm going to take my students to XYZ field trip for a personal finance celebration or recognition of that importance of the study. And here we've given some suggestions about taking them to talk to some car dealers on site as a car dealership, or taking them to a complex where there are rentals of homes and apartments, and talk to a property manager about all the things that are required to be able to rent from that particular complex. Travel to a bank or a credit union. They're always very interested in getting young people to think about money. So there's some ideas. And as we're talking about each of these, if you've taken a particular field trip that you'd like to share, we'd love to hear you share that with us in the chat. Of course, guest speakers are a great way to get the students tuned into a new voice and a new person telling them basically what you've been telling them a lot through the year. And of course, since COVID, Zoom has become one of our best friends. And so if you can't have someone visit your classroom in person, taking advantage of having them, live stream in an insurance agent, someone who writes wills, a lawyer, a loan officer, a financial planner, any of those would be a financial aid specialist from a local college. So if you have a suggestion about a guest speaker that we haven't mentioned yet tonight, feel free to include that in the chat. We did talk about our service learning, and that is a perfect time of year, perhaps, to engage in one of those specialty activities where you can have your students interact with others. Have your students and challenge them if they like what they're learning and feel it's important. Challenge them to be a financial literacy advocate, and give them time in class to write a letter about the value of financial education in their lives, and submit that to their school newspaper, to a local newspaper. Invite a TV reporter into your classroom. During Financial Literacy Month, they would run with that, and they would love to see what students are doing and bring this, feature story to their viewers. Go ahead and schedule to have a student or two go with you and appear during a Board of Ed meeting, and just tell them thank you for allowing us to have this course. So many states right now, 25 have mandated that a financial literacy course be taught for graduation. But that means 25 other states have yet to act upon that. And sometimes states embed these students, embed the course into an already existing course and topics already into an existing course. But just being able to stand out and allow you and your students to thank the community at large for being able to learn these valuable lessons helps to reinforce the importance of it, and truly be doing some of that advocacy as part of service learning. Finally, if you have digital signage within your school or even outside of your school, find out how to get some messages displayed so that you can put them either on a looping basis, and they are seen by students as they're walking through the halls during Financial Literacy Month. It can be very simple as tasking each student or students working together as partners to create one slide. Ask a student to do something about the value of saving, something about protecting yourself online, something about paying yourself first, something about credit, and different things. And then you're constantly sharing a lot of these messages to the students, their peers, but also reminding the adults that work in the building how important financial literacy is. And maybe you'll get one of them to think, wow, this is a good time. I should probably check my credit score or something like that. So all of these things are great ways to celebrate the fact that financial literacy is becoming more and more important, and we know how valuable it can be in our adult lives as we strive to become financially capable. I see some great ideas being shared in the chat. Thank you so much for doing these and sharing those ideas. One thing that we would love for you to try, if you haven't yet, is our new digital version of Life in the United States. And this could be a great way to celebrate Financial Literacy Month, or certainly do this as you wind down the school year, because you've taught many of these principles and topics within a semester or a full year course. And this is a great capstone activity because it's about budgeting. But the kids that walk through this family finance simulation, they are making financial decisions in a safe environment, but it's very authentic. We worked very hard to make sure that we took the 2020 census results and we have families and household units that reflect what is going on in our country today. And this simulation is an exciting new digital edition that was just released in January of this year. So if you try that, we would love to hear your feedback with it. And then as the students finish up the Life In simulation, just like you have friends and neighbors in a neighborhood, you could perhaps try and do a block party and have everybody bring in a bag of chips or some Kool-Aid or something and have a little block party, play some music, and just celebrate that you were able to complete that simulation. And here's something we want to make sure you hear about. This is Intuit, one of our industry partners. They are just starting to reveal an Hour of Finance challenge. And this challenge is to introduce students to topics and content of personal finance by different activities. Some are online games, some are different things. And I think they're asking you to do 5 different activities and devote 1 hour to teaching of financial literacy from their lessons. And if you register and sign up for this, they are, I'm not sure exactly how they're picking, if they're just drawing or how it's exactly designed, but they're giving away 25,000, 50,000, and 100,000 to a school and to be used for their schools. So this is an amazing commitment from Intuit Education, and we wanted to make sure that you all know about it and see if you want to sign up, because those numbers really sound pretty good, don't they? And thank you very much, Robin and Tiffany, for putting those links. Tiffany was able to add the link to our Life in the United States, and also the actual Intuit, where you can register to participate in this Hour of Finance challenge from Intuit for Education. So some of the different ideas that you all are sharing with us. Robin said when she was in the classroom, she did a scavenger hunt on campus. I love that. Scavenger hunts are fun. And if someone did the scavenger hunt correctly, they would end up in your classroom. That's awesome. Another one said, Muriel said, utilizing our 4-H teens to be Finland Advocates. Oh, yes. Very good. Does anyone here on tonight's call, do any of you have one of those reality fairs that take place within your school? April is a great time to emphasize all of the financial literacy skills, and that would be a great time to host one of those fairs. I've seen several teachers starting to talk about reality fairs, and either their school has just recently hosted one, maybe for juniors or seniors. I've seen some middle school age groups. They have some at their schools. And I know when we used to do one at my school, I would act as cash cab. And when they would come to my station during the reality fair, I had a list of just simple financial literacy questions. What does APR stand for? Have you ever heard of a FICO score? What do you think that measures? Different things like that. And if they got it right, they could have the imaginary $50 that they could put into their savings. And that's just a fun way to add a little bit of current culture, because kids and lots of people like to watch those game shows and that. I see Mariel says one of our charter schools has quarterly entrepreneur reality fairs. That's excellent. That's excellent. One of the things that we offer through the University of Arizona, we want to make sure that you are aware of and you can share with your colleagues at school or even family members if they're interested. We offer a master's in legal studies in law and economics. It is a completely online degree. You can complete it in 1 to 2 years, or if you need to stretch it out a little more, that's also an option as well. We have scholarship opportunities for students. It's great for educators, great for legislators, great for administrators. It does hit several different groups of people that might be interested in this type of degree. If you scan that QR code, it will take you directly to the information about the Master in Legal Studies, what we call MLS, and that is on our Center for the Philosophy of Freedom website. From Take Charge Today, we do post a lot of things on our Facebook page and also on X, formerly known as Twitter, as they say. And we're posting things on there. We just posted some things about helping your seniors with the financial aid forms that they should be filling out. They were slow in getting those new forms rolling out, so there's still time in most cases for seniors to put those together if they're going to higher ed. We put links to infographics and articles and videos. And of course, we promote things we're doing in-house, like our webinars and such. So we encourage you to follow us on those platforms to keep up to date on lots of things going on with financial education and personal finance in general. We appreciate you joining us tonight. We appreciate the fact that we have industry partners like Intuit for Education, like the Freedom Center on campus at the University of Arizona that supports our mission to be able to provide these important lessons to teachers like yourselves so that they can be passed on to our next generation of learners. So thanks for joining us. If you have questions, we'll linger here a little bit and certainly answer any questions that you pose to us, either by unmuting yourself or posting it in the chat. And we hope you have a nice holiday coming up with Easter break, and we'll see you the next time.